The first horror film produced by Universal was The Phantom of the Opera in 1925, starring Lon Chaney as a disfigured Eric. Chaney's makeup has become a cultural icon in the movie industry and serves as a reminder for why Lon Chaney was known as the Man of a Thousand Faces.
Listen to them, children of the night. What music they make.
Universal's first film to feature a famous monster in the sound era was 1931's Dracula, directed by Todd Browning and starring Bela Lugosi in the leading role. Dracula was a financial and critical success. Audience members were amazed, even fainting in shock at some screenings. Despite the many adaptations of Bram Stoker's novel, Bela Lugosi's portrayal of the world's most famous vampire has become the image most people think of when someone says the name Dracula. 1931 also saw the release of Frankenstein, directed by James Whale. This would be the first of many horror films to star Boris Karloff, making him a household name. Lugosi was originally slated to play the role of the monster in Frankenstein before the role went to Karloff. Whether it's because Lugosi did not want to play a role with no lines, or because James Whale thought he was not suited for the role, is still up for debate to this day. Regardless, Karloff and Lugosi's names would become intertwined for years to come. In 1932, Boris Karloff would play another famous Universal monster, this time in The Mummy. The film was proven to be important in Universal's history, as it was not only successful in its own right, but would live on through a successful remake franchise in the late 1990s through the 2000s, more than 75 years after the original's release. Lugosi and Karloff, Universal's hardest working and most marketable horror stars, would take 1933 off from Universal's horror cycle, but Claude Rains was willing and able to fill in with The Invisible Man, directed by Frankenstein director James Whale. This groundbreaking film was another runaway success for the studio, launching Rains' career in the same way Lugosi and Karloff saw the start of their careers. The next film to feature a new Universal monster was also the first sequel to a Universal horror film, The Bride of Frankenstein, in 1935. Colin Clive returned as Dr. Frankenstein, while Boris Karloff resumed the role that made him famous. Despite being the sequel to what is considered to be a classic and near-perfect horror film, The Bride of Frankenstein wowed audiences and critics alike and is considered to be one of, if not the greatest Universal horror movie, thanks in no small part to director James Whale and the addition of actor Ernest Thesiger as the diabolical Dr. Pretorius. This film also marks the debut of the first and only female member of the Universal monster family, the Bride of Frankenstein, played by Elsa Lanchester. Several years would pass before another monster debuted that would join Universal's horror star canon. Although Universal had several successes with films like Son of Frankenstein and The Mummy's Hand, it would not be until The Wolfman premiered in 1941 that Universal would find not only a new monster, but its new horror star. Larry Talbot, the Wolfman's sympathetic protagonist, was played by Lon Chaney Jr. Much like his father, Lon Chaney Jr. would prove to be one of horror's greatest icons. He'd go on to become the only actor to play the Wolfman, the Frankenstein monster, the Mummy, and Count Dracula for Universal. As the 40s winded down, so too did Universal's horror cycle. After a run of successful sequels, Universal tried something different, bidding farewell to their monsters with Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, the 1948 classic that teamed up the famous comedic duo with the Frankenstein monster, the Wolfman, and Dracula, portrayed by Bela Lugosi for the first time since 1931. With the 1950s, Universal, like so many other studios at the time, became more interested in science fiction. Universal released Creature from the Black Lagoon in 1954, a throwback to the Universal horror films of yesteryear, with the added twist of 3D. Although there were several memorable films throughout the decade, the creature, or Gill-Man as some call him, is the only one to consistently be featured alongside the most famous monsters from Universal's golden era. Universal never stopped making horror movies, but they are nowhere as prominent as they once were. Movies like Psycho, Jaws, The Thing, and their remakes of The Mummy and The Wolfman show there is still that spark for the genre that helped create the powerhouse that is Universal. Perhaps the next addition to the Universal monster family is just around the corner.